Two exciting Disney Dreamlight Valley updates are only a few days away, leaving many players wondering what they can do to prepare for these new changes. And that's exactly what we'll be covering in today's video, which focuses on 5 tips you can utilize to prepare for the approaching updates. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that I'm a small full-time content creator, so every like on these videos can make a big difference for me. Consider subscribing for more Disney Dreamlight Valley and gaming content. If you'd like to enjoy the updates live with friends, consider joining our Twitch community. I go live with Dreamlight Valley Monday through Friday, and whenever there's an update, I go live the moment it drops. I'm hoping I see you on May 1st. And with that out of the way, let's get started. So for tip number 1, as you guys know, we are going to be getting new levels for our hourglass. And if the original Eternity Isle update taught us anything, it's that, well, that's going to require mist. Now, we don't know what else in this update might require mist, but there is a very, very high chance that upgrading your hourglass certainly will. And there could be a lot of other things that require mist on top of that. So tip number 1 of today's video, I highly recommend gathering some mist before the update. Now, if you're sitting on maybe 100,000 mist or 200,000 mist, I think you'll probably be okay. But if you're down to your last 4,000 or 10,000, I think it may be a good idea to start gathering up some mist as quickly as possible. Now, while we're on the topic of mist, closely related would be Dreamlight. As of right now, there's not really much I can think of in the update. I think that's going to really require a lot of Dreamlight. But without a realm coming, I don't think Dreamlight is going to be as necessary. So make mist your primary focus if you have both Eternity Isle and Dreamlight Valley. And if you're hoping for some tips and tricks on gathering mist, I'm not going to have that in this video as it would just make the video far too long, but I do have a separate video that came out when Eternity Isle was released, and it goes through how to collect mist quickly. Now, I will say the fastest way to get mist, hands down, is by just simply using your Royal Hourglass and having a lot of time benders assign that time bending profession in your valley and on Eternity Isle. Just make sure you're hanging out with a level 10 time bender, make sure you have at least 5 or more time benders, and do a whole lot of time bending, and your mist will move up rather quickly. With that out of the way, let's move on to tip number 2. Our next tip is going to be covering quite a bit because this tip is check your resources. Now, that may sound kind of vague. You're like, yeah, okay, we should always have resources. So what are you talking about, Senpai? Well, there are a few things in particular I would highly recommend having ready. And this is going to help you with both Eternity Isles update and the Thrills and Frills update coming for all players. Now, for the Thrills and Frills update, I would say the main things you want to stock up on are going to be things that can help you with the star path. Namely, that would be resources like iron, flowers, and many other things. And you may be wondering, okay, how do those things help with the star path? Well, if you look back on our previous 2 star paths, we had to make some pretty expensive things like DJ booths. And then also there are always star path quests that require you to pick up flowers. It'll be like pick orange flowers or pick red flowers. But a fun fact about those particular star path tasks is you can just go to a chest in your house, pick up all 30 flowers, throw them on the ground outside, and then pick them up, and you're done with that task. So that's a super handy way to move through the star path quickly. On top of that, making sure you have the resources necessary to make particular potions is also very helpful. I would say notably the fishing potion is probably one of the ones you want to have resources to make, because in the last star path a lot of people really struggled with the Fugus. But when it comes to catching Fugus, all you need to do is use a fishing potion on a rainy day, and then you cast your rod into one of the gray circles, and boom, you got Fugus out the wazoo. So I mean, you can just get Fugus so easily. So if this approaching star path has another fish that is only caught from a gold circle, well, you're going to be able to get that fish quite easily if you make those potions. Or if the star path throws a curveball and it's like, if it says dig up 100 clay or something we've never seen. Well, having the resources you need for a digging potion would help you get that knocked out very quickly. I would just advise you to make sure you have the resources to make all of the potions. When it comes to resources, just having a lot of flowers on hand having what you need to make potions, having crafting materials, all of these things are going to help you progress through the star path quickly. Now, there are some other things that are not star path related that I would definitely recommend stocking up on as well. For example, star coins. We know we're getting Daisy's new boutique, and usually when we get a new building, Scrooge is going to have us build it and he'll charge us for that. I don't think that's going to happen with this, because in the demonstration video, in the dev update like highlight video they did, they showed the building kind of magically appearing. So I don't think we're going to have to pay Scrooge, but if we do, just make sure you have like 10,000 or 20,000 star coins on hand. Most of you have way beyond that, so it's not really a big issue, but I would make sure I have a decent amount of star coins on hand before the update drops. And the last thing I'm going to recommend stockpiling is going to be gifts for our new villagers, Daisy and Oswald. And what do I mean by that? Like, we don't know what kind of favorite gifts they're going to want, so what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about universally loved gifts that can help them advance very quickly in friendship level. For example, a lot of people do not know this about the shiny gift, but did you know it takes only 65 shiny gifts to get any villager from level 1 to level 10. Now, that's, if you sit there and give them a gift over and over, it actually only takes like 8 or 9 minutes. So you can get a brand new villager. You can have Oswald at level 1, or you can have Daisy at level 1. And with 65 shiny gifts, you can get them all the way to level 10 in under 10 minutes. It is insanely fast. So if you have the resources to make these, then, you know, it's definitely worth making. Now, if you don't have the resources to make these, then the next best thing would be purified night shards. Purified night shards are one of the best gifts in the game. They are actually the second best gift next to shiny gifts. It takes 112 purified night shards to get a villager from level 1 to level 10, but it takes about 12 to 13 minutes versus the shiny gifts, which only take about 8 or 9 minutes. And as far as how to make these, unfortunately for your purified night shards, you're going to need to utilize dream shards and night shards, which, you know, a lot of people don't like making these because they would rather have their dream shards be converted into Dreamlight, which is fair. For the shiny gifts, however, you will not need any dream shards or anything, but they are kind of difficult to make because you can only make them if you have wrapping paper. So here's the shiny gift. You're gonna need 1 festive wrapping paper, 1 shiny ruby, and 1 shiny emerald. If you have enough of these items, then you can make shiny gifts and you can get your villagers leveled up insanely fast. But like I said, these are a bit rare, and if you weren't playing during Christmas, you might not have any of these. But if you have a lot of friends that play that aren't using them, maybe ask them if they could drop wrapping paper for you and you can take their wrapping paper and use it, or you can utilize the purified night shards. Now, if you don't want to do either one of those things, like let's say you don't have wrapping paper and you don't want to use your dream shards, well, what's another great way to level up villagers quickly? Well, you could always go with the old classic flower trick. That's another reason why I was recommending stocking up on flowers. Not only are they going to help you with star path duties, but they can also just be gifted to a villager over and over to get them to level 10. However, this takes way longer than shiny gifts or purified night shards. In many cases, like 3 times to 4 times longer. So if you're going to take this route, you know, you will save on dream shards. You won't have to make shiny gifts, but it is going to take you a fair bit longer to get those villagers leveled up to 10. But also, if you're one of those players that doesn't really care to rush your villager progress, you can always just hang out with them and level them up that way. Just hang out, garden, do stuff with them, and slowly get them up to level 10. I'm only giving you this advice if you would rather get through the storyline quickly. Maybe you want to know the secrets of Eternity Isle and you don't want it to take a month to get Oswald to level 10. You know, you can utilize this information here. That'll do it for resources and stockpiling resources under our tip section here. So let's move on to tip number 3. Moving on to tip number 3, and I think this one is pretty obvious for a lot of people that play Dreamlight Valley when there is a star path approaching, and that is do not remove your Nightthorns. Now I know that's annoying because Nightthorns are unsightly and they get in the way. They're really annoying, so your primary nature is going to be to just get rid of them, remove them, clean up your valley. But if you're familiar with all the star paths that we've seen, they always have like 3 star path tasks requiring us to remove Nightthorns, and every single one requires more and more Nightthorns to be removed. So if you don't have any Nightthorns in your valley when the star path drops, it's going to take you a really long time to get all 3 of those tasks done. This has changed a little bit, and it actually is a little bit easier because even though the star path specifically states Nightthorns, Nightthorns aren't the only thing that count for this. If you're fortunate enough to own the Eternity Isle expansion as well, these little splinters of fate also count as Nightthorns when doing these star path duties. So if you have Eternity Isle, you can actually get these Nightthorn duties done much faster, and you don't have to feel so bad about removing Nightthorns if they're kind of in the way, because you're going to have a ton of splinters of fate to remove as well. So for now, I would definitely recommend leaving the splinters of fate alone and leave your Nightthorns alone. That way you can progress through the star path quickly, get your points, and use those exciting new items in your Dream Snap challenges. And with that out of the way, let's keep it going and move on to tip number 4. Moving on for tip number 4, it's time for all of us to plan for major theme park changes. So what do I mean by that? Well, we know that this new star path is called the A Day at Disney Star Path, and it's coming with all new Disney park attractions. Some of them are rather large. We've seen the Magic Carpet Ride, and there are a few other things that were in the teaser or the dev update video that looked very big. So we've already got so many huge rides and huge attractions. We know we're going to be able to ride certain ones soon, like the Dumbo ride and the Teacup ride. We know we're going to be able to enjoy these in a new way. I'm sure most of you guys want all of these rides out, the old and the new, but that's going to take up a lot of room. So what I've done is I've actually deleted my theme park. And I know you're like, but Senpai, it's right behind you. No, I literally just threw all this on the ground on top of brick just to shoot this scene. For now, I've completely removed my theme park from my valley. I'm not going to put it back until I get the new rides because I want to make sure I can fit everything. I might even move it to a new biome. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this because this is a lot of work. I'm definitely not trying to encourage you to just nuke your theme park and start over. I'm just kind of talking about what I've done to help prepare for this. So what you can do is you can always expand your theme park into a second biome and make it even bigger, or you can shuffle things around. All I'm saying here is for tip number 4, just try and do a little bit of planning for a bigger theme park and more theme park attractions. If you're thinking ahead, you can already have a good idea of where you're going to put some of these new rides. And I've talked to a lot of players on my stream and on YouTube, and a lot of people say they feel pretty good about it because they have already come up with a good idea or concept of how to approach this theme park. So yeah, tip number 4 is pretty short and sweet, pretty self-explanatory, but I feel like it was really important to bring up considering the theme of the star path. And with that, let's move on to our final tip, tip number 5. And for our 5th and final tip, this is all going to revolve around Daisy and her boutique. Much like the theme park, you're going to want to plan on where you're going to put Daisy's new boutique, as it is central to the content coming in the Thrills and Frills update. Knowing where you're going to put this new building will help speed things along for you. And as for me, I'm going to go ahead and have it all planned out right before the update drops. I'll show you here, actually. A lot of you guys have seen this in my Valley tour. I have this whole Zen garden here in my plaza, and I put my little multiplayer center here, but I'm actually going to transform my plaza. For me, my plaza is like my town square. We have Scrooge's shop over here. We have Chez Remy. We have Kristoff's stall on the back side of that, and I'm going to try to put Beast's flower stall over here as well, but I'm trying to get like all of my shopping central. So I'm going to be getting rid of our Zen garden. I'm probably going to move it to a different biome, and I'm going to put the multiplayer thing probably probably here somewhere, and then I'm gonna put Daisy's Boutique here because I just think it'll look good with the way I've got this set up. But I'm not saying that's what you have to do with yours. I'm just kind of giving an example of what I've been planning to do with the boutique. And I highly recommend coming up with an idea of where you're going to put the boutique before it drops so that you can just kind of get right into it. Now, if your valley is like pretty empty and you're not really worried about that, that's great. This is a tip you can definitely skip, but this is a multi-part tip. Let's get into the next part of it. I highly recommend that you experiment with the Touch of Magic tool. Now, I know a lot of people out there aren't very big fans of Touch of Magic because it kind of gets in the way of dream snaps, but I think with this update coming out, Touch of Magic is going to be far more appealing to the player base because we're going to be able to share designs with one another, and you're going to be able to customize what's inside your boutique. You're going to be able to put your own outfits on display, and even if you're not planning on, having a bunch of people come get those outfits, it's still going to be a cool way to decorate the interior of your boutique to have these items. So I've actually had a lot of people ask me to make a Touch of Magic tutorial, and I can tell you guys that is definitely on the way, but I've decided not to make one before the update because if this update is anything like the Laugh Floor update, there were a ton of quality of life fixes and changes. So I'm definitely expecting Touch of Magic to have some major changes as well since it's such a big part of this update. So for me, I'm not going to be doing any tutorials until the update drops. But we definitely will be doing some guides on Touch of Magic in the very near future. Just stay tuned for that. That's why for now, I just recommend you guys getting comfortable with it, maybe experiment with it this week before the update drops, maybe on Monday or Tuesday, play around with it for like 30 minutes, get an idea of how it works. There may be some major changes, but getting used to the core mechanics of it would definitely be helpful before the update arrives. So that pretty much wraps up tip number 5. It's just centered around planning a location for the boutique, maybe planning a location for Daisy's home as well, and getting a little bit of experience with Touch of Magic if you're one of the many players that has yet to utilize it.
Hi, I'm Taco and I'm in the video.
And there you have it, my friends. Those are my 5 tips and tricks to get prepared for both of these exciting and fast approaching updates. Now, I do want to say there are a lot of other good things you can do to get ready for these updates, and there's probably a ton of things I didn't cover in this video. So for all of you guys watching this on YouTube right now, put your tips and tricks suggestions in the comments below so that anybody watching this video, if they're looking for even more advice, they can get it directly from you. If you have not done so, do me a very big favor and press that thumbs up button on today's video as it helps more people discover my channel. Consider subscribing for more Disney Dreamlight Valley and gaming content. As always, thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the Thrills and Frills update.